Hello and welcome to Most Mindful Minutes. Today, we'll be discussing gardening and how you can easily start this fun hobby as a complete beginner. Make sure you watch to the end to see my recommendations for starting your first garden. A good first question is, what is gardening? Well, gardening can come in many different forms, some big and some small. Gardening can be growing small houseplants or raising vegetables in your backyard. The important thing is that no matter what, gardening can fit your schedule. Some of the most enjoyable large gardening projects are growing flowers and bushes for landscaping, growing fruits and vegetables, planting trees, and growing and selling flowers. Gardening doesn't have to involve projects as big as those. Buying and taking care of ferns and flowers, starting small herb gardens, and planting small fruit plants like tomatoes are all simple and enjoyable ways to dip your feet into gardening. Another fair question is, why would I want to grow plants? Well, there's many benefits to gardening. For starters, it's a great way to get outside and is really good for physical health. When you're moving around taking care of plants, your muscles get stronger from constant use. Also, the outside time can be very relaxing and act as a great way to de-stress after a long day. Gardening is great for the environment, and by composting and using sustainable practices, you're doing a ton to save our planet. It's also a good way to get out into the sun, which is great for your mental health. Now that we looked at the benefits, it's time to talk about getting started. Gardening is inexpensive and easy to get into as long as you do proper research. I recommend buying a small houseplant or flower and getting into a schedule of taking care of it. This gives you a good way to see if you really enjoy growing plants and practice taking care of them in the future. It's important to know how to care for your plant by figuring out how often to water it and how much sunlight it needs. If you're looking for a starter plant, I recommend the painted leaf begonia. It's a small, beautiful plant that is very easy to care for. Put it in a spot that has bright, indirect sunlight and water weekly. When you water plants, make sure that you water slowly until the water begins to slightly drip out of the bottom of the pot. Be careful though, one of the biggest plant killers is overwatering. People think the more water is better, but you have to make sure you aren't drowning your plants. If you want to expand past houseplants and go into larger gardens, there's a few things to consider. First, what type of garden do you want? Do you want to grow herbs, fruits and veggies, flowers, or something else? I recommend choosing what looks the most interesting to you, because you should be having fun while gardening. Once you've decided what you want to grow, pick plants that grow well in your climate. For the most specific information on climates and proper plant selection, USDA zones give a really good look into what's growable in your area. For hot climates, some good plants are cosmos, marigolds, tomatoes, okra, squash, and basil. For mild climates, petunias, zinnias, strawberries, melons, blueberries, thyme, and rosemary are all good choices. For cold climates, I recommend pansies, winter jasmine, spinach, turnips, broccoli, oregano, and parsley. It's also important to know the best growing times for each plant, which I recommend finding individually for each plant that you're growing. Once you know what you're planting, you need to choose how to set up your garden. You can set up in-ground beds, raised beds, or pots. I recommend using raised beds for easier drainage, temperature management, and weed control, but any of the options work. For a good raised garden bed, you need short walls to keep the soil in, which can be purchased or made with wood. You can put the raised bed outside, fill it with soil, then plant your seeds. In no time at all, you'll have a successful raised garden bed. You also need to use good soil and fertilizer, a topic I can make a video on in the future if y'all would be interested in it. Leave a comment down below letting me know if you'd like an in-depth guide, but as a general suggestion, I recommend using loamy soil with good drainage. Once you have your garden set up, plant the seeds proper for the current season and water regularly. After a few weeks, you'll start to see small shoots coming out of the soil, and in no time at all, you'll have a successful garden. While they're growing, be sure to weed and water regularly so you'll have a beautiful, blooming plant. Well, there you have it. This has been a deep dive into getting into gardening as a complete beginner. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you for your support, and please consider liking and subscribing, and leave a comment down below letting me know how your gardening journey is going. Remember, be the good you want to see in the world. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.